where we learn, unlearn, relearn, basically everything that has to do with faith, family, lifestyle, and everything in between. So today we are going to be sharing, some very valuable life lessons, and I have with me on this call a distinguished guest. It's been a while we've been on this topic to see if we'll be able to get him, but because of his schedule, but he's here today, and I'm very excited to be doing this. I see that a whole lot of people are not able to join at this time. At least I got a couple of feedback saying that, oh, why not move this to later in the evening? But we have to consider the time schedule and availability of our guests. But if you're not even able to join at this time, you will more or less be able to still find the video on my YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking about something really, really interesting. But I'll just have him give us a brief introduction about himself, who he is, and then we will be talking about everything we need to talk about today. Hi, Dr. Sansa. Good morning. It's a pleasure to have
Yeah,
you here today.
good morning, Jennifer. It's a pleasure being here.
Awesome. So
Yeah,
you want to tell us who you are, what you
uh,
do?
well, my name is Michael Sanusi. I'm a medical doctor. Oh, sorry about that. I'm a medical doctor, and I apply my trade in the United Kingdom. I'm here with my family, and yeah, I work with the NHS.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for taking out time to be here with us today. So today we want to talk about something that kind of affects like everybody in general in life. So at every point in time, I think that this phenomenon, will definitely catch up with each and every one of us. So it's always good to share things like this, just so that people are able to know that okay, you're not alone. There's still human beings like you who are experiencing stuffs like this, and they are able to get through it like successfully. So today we're going to be talking about, life after loss. I've been privileged to know you for a couple of years now. I think we've known for about maybe close to 5 years now, yeah, if I'm correct.
Something like
And
that.
I had that privilege, yeah, to also know your late wife. She was such a beautiful soul. And to still be in your space and to still see that you're able to carry this all well. To also know that you're a father and you're able to manage the situation very well. It's something that really blows me away. Sometimes I just reminisce, I think about the times when, she was still here, how she used to really, really take care of the boys, and how it's just you paddling that canoe right now. I think about it from time to time. And I would just want you to, share the parts with which you're comfortable with sharing, for us as regards, what the loss was like, how you were able to scale through it. So I think I was able to come up with like, some summarized questions so that we're very definite in what we're talking about. And so I want you to just, briefly tell us what was the situation like for you. How did you feel? How did you take it? You can just walk us through this in a few minutes.
Okay. Um, well, it's more or less. Well, I understand the situation of the interview. I have to revisit issues that are past. Well, there's no time one would not have to visit those kind of things and remember events. So I think everything happened about 2 years ago. Yeah, so I relocated back in 2022. I think I came alone first, and then my family joined in November. And that's my wife and my two kids. So we're just trying to settle down for the Christmas, spending Christmas
Yeah,
with family and things like that. We have relatives here. And my wife started, she fell sick. We couldn't really understand why. Um, and before we could say Jack Robinson, um, everything had happened. So we just, I think she passed on the 16th. She got in here um, the 8th of November, if I remember correctly, and then 5 weeks and 3 days, um, the unfortunate happened. She passed on from there. So
yeah,
my kids had to go and stay with some relatives while I try to get things in order. So I think that's just like the summarized version of what happened.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, um, how were you able to find comfort like during this period of the loss? What were some, key things that were able to console you, comfort you, through that season?
Well, the the way we all handle situations like this differ, and nobody ever prepares for it.
Yeah.
It's not something you can prepare for because you don't even want to dream about it. But the way we cope is different. I had to find a way to go about it. It's new to me. It's new to everybody in my family. No one has lost a wife or a husband before. So
Yeah.
nobody can really, nobody could really advise me on how to handle it because they don't even have the experience, even though they are, older than me and things like that. But, one thing that I've always discovered that I do for myself is irrespective of the situation I am, I get very lucky that
Okay.
I remember God in everything. I don't know how, but even while events are unfolding, somehow there is that part of me, the inner man that keeps telling me, there's a God factor in this, there's a God factor in this,
Yeah.
even though I can't explain how, but I think that has basically been what has really given me some consolation. Although there are some other, things that came into four. I remembered
Yeah.
that, yeah, that really helped me with coping.
Okay. So you've talked about God now. So the place of God is more like your belief system, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so would you say there were some like encounters, like personal encounters you had with God, or something that God was able to use as a sign to say, okay, he was with you all through the way? Because I hear people say, oh, when I lose a loved one, or when I lost, I've heard a couple of people say, when I lost a loved one, I felt like God's presence was with me. Some God sent some prophet to come tell me that he's with me in this, or I had a dream, stuff like that. Did you have like any of those encounters that made you so sure that, okay, God is with you through this season, I was able to bring you hope?
Well, I wouldn't say there were encounters because I've
Okay.
always known myself from way back that there's always a God factor in everything I do, right from when I was very young. So my parents had given me the background story about some of these things. So, and I've also witnessed a lot of it myself. So I know that irrespective of whatever I go through, there's always a God factor in it. And if I were to now say, looking at the events that have happened after then, yes, if I want to call them encounters, yeah, very few people have, not very few people, a lot of people have families in the UK or even anywhere in the world, but very few of those families can come through for them when events, as big as this happen. People will tell you a lot of stuff. We'll be there for you if you need anything. Come. We all know how some of those stories end. Nothing ever
Right.
comes out of it. When you really need the help, everybody
Right.
runs away. So, but
Wow.
my own situation was quite different. I had
Okay.
family who stood by me, who were none of them were my blood relation.
Okay.
They were all my wife's relatives. But
Okay.
despite the fact that the events happened to my wife, they really, really, made sure that at every point in time they were standing in gap. Even till now, they are still standing in gap 2 years down the line. And I can't thank God enough for those kind of people because
Amazing.
yeah, I thought about a lot of things, but they were able to make me see reasons, and through their actions, I was able to believe that there is still something left for me here. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So I know we have like a question guide, but a lot of things are just coming to mind like while we're having this conversation. So I've seen times where people lose loved ones, and maybe you're in that gathering. I mean, something like that happened recently. Very close female friend of mine, she lost her husband quite young too. And while we're in that gathering, I saw a couple of people coming around and say, "Oh, don't cry, stop crying." And in my head, I'm like, "Don't tell her not to cry." For me, I think it's okay to cry. I feel like, in fact, it's when you're able to cry it out that you're able to actually accept the reality. But I want to hear from you, someone who has experienced this. What is your thoughts on people consoling people who lost loved ones and say, "Don't cry, please stop crying"? Because this friend of mine I'm talking about still calls me from time to time. She sometimes we just want to maybe check up or maybe respond to maybe a message I've sent to her. So she's very spontaneous. So she just calls. And along the line of the discussion, she starts crying. And I'm never in the place of telling her don't cry. For me, it's like cry. I think it's okay to cry, yeah. But I want to hear from you. What is your thoughts on this? When people say, okay, when you lose a loved one, please don't cry. When you cry, it shows weakness. It shows, in fact, some spiritual nomadics will tell you, oh, don't cry. When you cry, it shows you are weak. It shows you are hopeless. I don't know. So what is your thoughts on this?
Well, first, I'll say all those are completely wrong.
Okay.
See, yes, a lot of people during I think within the first 6 months, when it happened, a lot of people kept wondering, is it really true that this thing happened to this guy? Or because it doesn't sound like it.
Okay.
I think I remembered you also said something like that. And people kept asking, even when they had the opportunity to ask me directly, some of them, after about a year, they still asked, and they were like, the way you were sounding on the phone did not even, was not even like something, as big as that happened. But that did not mean I didn't cry. Of course, I did. But you see, the only way to express your feelings at that point is to cry. And if you don't cry at that time, you'll cry later. That is number one. Number
Right.
two is anybody who is grieving, the best thing you can do for them is to allow them grieve. You don't
Yeah.
even need to tell them anything. You don't need to say anything. Just allow them, because there's a relief that comes with, the whole cry, the whole grief. The only thing you can just try to do is they don't hurt themselves. For those that have the
Mm,
tendency to do so, we try to help them through that phase. But telling
right.
somebody not to cry, yeah, there's no point to it. You are even adding to their problems. So,
Right.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for sharing this. So let's talk about we've talked about so much about the sad part. So let's talk about some good things that you can pinpoint and
Excuse
say,
me.
okay, these were like some of the good things that came out of this season for me. Do you see that any good things came out of this season? I don't want to keep calling it loss because I feel like when we say loss, it sounds like, oh, we've lost something that cannot be redeemed, right? Even though it's a loss. But do you think that anything good came out of this? And how has this season or that season changed your perception to life, your perception to how you see life?
Uh, yeah, it's changed it a lot. Um, the way I see things is different now, because before there are some things I believe about life. I never expected something like this, even in my wildest dreams. It never occurred to me. I'm someone who, uh, in a way, like I said, there's a God factor in my life. I see things before they happen, especially when it pertains to me or people around me. It might not be direct, but I see the signs before they happen. But in this instance, I never saw it coming. Of course, definitely, I know there's a reason behind that, and it made me realize that life is very fickle. If you don't, there's this song I usually listen to. It's by one famous artist, um, Akon. It says, "Live your life as if every day is going to be your last, because you're not promised tomorrow." You see,
Right.
if you postpone anything to tomorrow, you're not guaranteed you're going to do it tomorrow. You're not even guaranteed you're going to see tomorrow. And when it happened, you know, sometimes when I look back, it feels like um, deja vu. Like, how did how did it, within 24 hours, how did it happen? How did it take place?
Wow.
That nobody suspected
Yeah.
anything, nobody noticed anything. And I just felt, as life goes by, it could happen to me again. I mean, myself now, it could happen to me at any point in time. I could
Right.
sleep today and not wake up tomorrow. The question is, what have I put in place? What have I done? What are the things I've done or put in place for my kids, or for their future and things like that. And that made me look deeper into my life. Things I've postponed for many years, I started doing them. And things
Right.
I'm still hoping to do, which I don't have the opportunity to do now. As soon as the opportunity comes, I'm going to start doing them. Um,
Right.
and that's what I think. You don't need to suffer a loss before you start thinking in that direction. As a person,
Right.
you need to start looking at life that you could breathe your last in the next 5 minutes. You know,
Right.
many people have left their homes this morning, and many of them will not get back home. So, and that's the way I think people should actually view it.
Okay.
I think you also asked what.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, continue.
Yeah. Yeah, because I have an idea of what I asked you, but I wanted
Yeah.
it to come from you. So what
So
would you
yeah.
say? Yeah, yeah.
So you see, the good thing that it has added to me is I okay. I don't just want it to look like I'm advertising anything, but I and my wife have always shared, this idea of helping people and things like that. And when it happened, I'm someone who, in my own little way, I try to help people. But even at the same time, I, have this conflict with my wife back then because she's this kind of person. She can give her eyes to people, and because of that, we have this husband-wife quarrel every now and then. Like you need to at least, put a hold on it. You can't just keep giving out things, blah, 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 and things like that, helping people here and there. But later on, that was at the early stage. Later on, I realized that it's just our person. There's nothing I can do about it. The earlier you accept it, the better. And that
Right.
reduced. So and but when she passed on, I felt what could I do to, still remember her, still honor her legacy and things like that. And the only other thing which you know, we could happen, which we have in common, is for me to continue where she left off and bring it into my own what would I call it now? My own
Goals.
goals. Try to bring it together as one, so that I don't feel burdened. You know, and that was how we started my own foundation on behalf of my family and my in-laws, and so the whole family. We started our own foundation. I think we launched December last year, and we're already having plans on things. The whole year is booked already on events that will be taking place. We just finished getting volunteers who will be working with us in the next 11 months. And
Awesome.
yeah, so we've been having one or two meetings. We'll be having our main meeting this Sunday. That's a few days time, and other plans will go on from there.
Awesome.
Places we want to visit, people we want to help. I think we're focused on, if you permit me,
Yeah,
I
go
can
ahead.
say a little more about the foundation. We're focused more on healthcare and education for people around the world. But we're starting from Nigeria. Charity they say begins at home. So we will be visiting some schools, and our plan is to start from where her background started from, which is the schools she attended. We are hoping
Awesome.
to be able to, yeah, help a few people give scholarships, if possible, and also regards to healthcare, we are also hoping to, do something about that, helping people who need help uh, in the um, in the community. Helping them with their hospital bills, people with cancers who have
Right.
who need chemotherapy. It's very expensive, and we are
Yeah.
hoping we can be able to, in our own way, if we can't outrightly help, we can subsidize, for them. So, and we
Right.
hope that God will help us during this period. It's a role that is packed in the next 11 months, but we hope that we'll pull through.
Awesome. So we can just share the link to it. That's if you still need volunteers, or probably you just need some more traffic on the website. I'm not sure what you need right now. But you can just give us probably a link. We'll just attach it to the description of this video for anyone who is interested. I mean, we still have some people who would come. I see a couple of people coming in and out of the live. I think the maximum I've seen was 10. So a couple of people might still want to check out this video later on. And just in case they want to buy into your vision, right? We can share the link. We can add it to the description, pin it on the description of this video, just so that they can be a part of the awesome initiative that you have come up with in loving memory of your wife. So I think that's absolutely amazing. If this was to be like a video and not a live, I'm sure I would have been able to share like a couple of graphics and all of that,
Mm.
just to show them what the foundation and the vision is all about. But I think the explanations you've given are quite explanatory. So probably just a couple of few more questions, because I really wanted this session to last for 30 minutes, but we might overshoot maybe by a few minutes. So what would be your advice to anybody supporting someone who is grieving? So right now, like I said, I have like a couple of, maybe not a couple, one person in my circle really close to me who is grieving. What would your advice be to me? How do I position myself in a way that I'm most helpful to? Of course, I cannot solve all their problems, right? I'm not just talking about financially now, right? Because God is helping us, but how would you advise me to position myself to be most helpful to, my friends or people around me who are grieving at this time and even in the future?
Yeah, thank you. So, uh, the main thing is allow them grieve. Like I've said
Okay.
before, let them grieve. They need it. It's helpful for them. Um, um, there are stages to it, and if you don't allow them go through that process, it could bring a lot of negative feelings. I don't need to, tell us about the stages of grief and things like that, but everybody needs to know that,
Well, if you
there's
can
this.
touch it here and there, we don't mind. This is like a knowledge sharing session, but we
Yeah,
respect your time. We respect what you want
well,
to share with us. So it's okay.
well, it's is well the stages of grief, like we all know. Yeah, you have the denial, you know, anger, then bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So I didn't go through all, which is not compulsory. Everybody has to go through, but I think I went through 4 out of 5. The only part I didn't go through is depression. I don't know how to be depressed, unfortunately. It's not in my DNA to be depressed. I always find joy in everything. But I went through every other stage. And it was sometimes I still remember, it took me weeks before I could even accept the fact that she was gone. I was still having the hope that she could even well, it's thinkable, but in present day world, the unthinkable could happen. But of course, it never happened. So it got to the point I even wished. Okay, let me just leave that part. Um, for anybody who wants to support people who are grieving, allow them grieve. What other things you can do for them is stand in gap or where the departed soul, has failed before. That is another way because if you're used to a particular way of life
Right.
from somebody, and then all of a sudden the person is not available to be able to help or to be able to perform that role, it's like you being addicted to cocaine and then they take the cocaine away. Chances are the withdrawal symptoms will come in, and if care is not taken, the
Right.
person could even pass on. From
Right.
that, not getting the cocaine back. So, and the process is to wean them off. You detoxify them gradually. So that means you're going to be. Sorry, I'm having to go into medicine, but
No, we're good.
just
We're
the way to
learning. We're
understand some
learning.
of these things. So you have to fill in that gap initially, and then try to win it off gradually over time. It could take months, it could take years to win that off. So, for instance, for myself, my in-laws stood in gap to fill that vacuum for her, and my kids, we had to put the younger one. We just clocked one at that time. We had to put him in the nursery, and
Oh,
um,
wow.
the elder one had to start going, resume school. Of course, we changed the school because of the location, and they were helping to take him to school because I think I stayed at home for just 3 weeks. I couldn't take it any longer. because staying, and that's another thing. My coping mechanism was to stay active. If I had stayed at home, it would have gotten worse because it was during the festive period. People were around, we were able to talk and gist, even though we didn't have any Christmas that time. And then the January of it, people went back to work. And I realized I was the only one left at home. The whole house
Wow.
was quiet, and what do you expect? Something that just happened 2 weeks ago. Thoughts started flooding my mind, and I had to tell my in-laws, I think I have to go back to work. Um, that's the only way I can cope. By the time I work from morning till night, I get tired. If I get home, the next thing is to sleep. So he helps me to get over it quickly. Of course, there were instances where no matter how much you tried, things still happened. But that was how I coped for some months before I started loosening up and things like that. So I feel that for someone who is grieving, if for instance they have kids, you know, volunteer to help them with some of this taking care of the kids, because it could be overwhelming.
Okay.
Something two people
Yeah.
share the burden before, and one person has to do everything. It could be overwhelming. If they don't have kids, there might be, some other things that the couple are used to. You could just volunteer to help, carry out those things. It helps them to feel some relief. Gradually, over months, over years, then one could win off those things, and then they would have, gotten over it by then, and then they can start doing those things themselves. It makes it easier for them. And also for me, I thank God for His grace and His mercy. I was able to get, family from Nigeria to come and assist. My mother-in-law, my mom, they come and go, at intervals to come and help out, and that's what we've been doing. um, we don't know how long that's going to last, but for now, that's that is what it is. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor. So I think you've even answered, you give us like a two-in-one answer. I was still going to come back to say, okay, so how do you want to encourage someone who is grieving right now? I think you've mentioned like a couple of things that helped you like get over or still getting over, that season. But do you have like any specific advice to anybody grieving right now? Is there anything you really want to tell anyone who lost a loved one right now? Because I feel like everybody will eventually get to that bridge someday, but
Mm.
some words are like seeds that when we hear them, they just encrypt in our hearts. And then, when the season comes, when they are useful, we're able to pull it out and remember it, and work with it. So, do you have like any specific advice you have for anybody who is grieving right now? Is there anything you want to let them know or anything you want to share with them?
Well, like you said, it's going to happen, whether now or tomorrow, and any other time, it's going to happen. And it's difficult to prepare for it, unfortunately. No matter how much you try and figure it out in your head, it's difficult to prepare for it. But what I can tell anyone who is in such situation is to understand that, because some people, I've heard of stories where people ended it, but ending it is not the answer. It's not the solution, because especially if you have
Right.
kids, you have only succeeded in causing more problems, not for family or relatives. No, you've only caused problem for your kids. And that was one thing that has
Mm.
also kept me going. You know, the only way I can be able to make her happy is for the kids to turn out well, and
Right.
you can't do it, even though, yeah, there's the God factor. You have to, but you have to do your best as a person. So there is no point trying to say, oh, everything is finished, blah blah blah. It's a phase, and every phase would pass. No matter how
Right.
bad, that phase will pass.
Right.
Going biblically, we many of us know the case of Job. Job's case was worse. I don't think anybody has suffered such fate before. So if Job could pull through, then I think anybody could pull through. It's just about
Awesome.
allowing that phase to pass. Wait for it. Time heals everything, even though it's not completely healed. But time has a way of making memories um, be repressed, and keeping memories, and I think that's what everybody needs to understand. Give it some time. Whatever thoughts you have in mind as at that time, when the event happened, Give it another 6 months and see if that thought will still be the same. I can bet he's going to change.
Right.
Then give it another
Right.
6 months, which is 1 year, and then reassess the situation. Do you think those decisions you wanted to take then, you think, you still want to take them now? So, and that's how I've been,
Okay.
reassessing every now and then. It's very key because
Amazing.
even normally, if anybody gets you angry, if you react immediately, you might do something you will regret. But if you are able to restrain and then, get some fresh air and then give it a rethink, you might realize that it was not necessary for you to react in the first place. So, and I think that's the way humans are designed. We, in the moment of anger, moment of pain, there are so many things that goes through our mind. We want to, do so many things that could have negative effects. But if we could just hold back and, give it some time, a lot of things could,
Right.
could change. So basically, yeah, that's it.
Give it time. Give it time. Time test is everything. Thank you very much, Doctor. I think I've learned so much. I see a couple of people were dropping the love emojis in the chats and all. So I think that the few people who were able to join us, they've learned so much as well. Thank you for sharing this time with us.
Thank you.
We'll be looking forward to you sharing the link to the foundation. So if I could just mention the name again, just so that the people who have joined can you know the name of the foundation. Name of the foundation is actually the Okwemiko Memorial Foundation. So
Oh,
you can
um,
share. Yeah,
Yeah, so
you want to say something?
Okwemepo Sansadin Memorial Foundation,
Standard Memorial
OSMF.
Foundation.
We
Sorry.
have a Facebook
Oh, okay. I
page.
missed the funny. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, we have a Facebook page, and we also have an Instagram page, where we'll
Awesome.
be uploading all our activities as we carry them out, and giving updates at the end of the year on what we've been able to achieve. We hope to
Amazing.
reach many more people, and it's something that really tops the charts on my list, and we hope to work in collaboration with other people. A few people have reached out, they want to work in collaboration with us. We hope that we're able to do that very soon, um, and get the gospel out to people, give people hope in the little way we can. Yeah, we hope to
Amazing.
get a
Thank you
website
very
in
much,
future, but for
Doctor.
now we don't have a website.
Okay. Okay.
It's a lot of money running the website, so yeah,
Yeah.
we just stay with the free stuffs for now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe we'll get there. So I'm saying we because I'm actually part of the foundation. So we're going to be sharing the links and all of that. Be attaching it to the description of this video. Thank you very much, Doctor, for sparing
Thank you for
30
having me.
minutes out of your very busy schedule for being here. I know you're just coming back from work.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the knowledge sharing session. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Phenomenal, Jennifer. Did I get it right?
And thank you to all our joiners and viewers and those who are still going to watch the video later on. Thank you so much. Till we come your way again. I think it's bye for now.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.